So, Emma, how did you transition from teaching into life coaching?
Thank you, Kathleen. That's a great question. So my journey started really 2 years ago, well, nearly three, in the global pandemic, because I was a primary school teacher, but I'm also asthmatic. And I've got lots of nurses in my family that wanted to look after me. And they were like, Emma, you've got to stop teaching face to face, because I was also a private music teacher working one-to-one as well. And they said, no, you've got to like step away. And I had to reinvent myself.
Yes.
So I embraced the online world for the first time ever. And I set myself up as an online music tutor. And this opened new doors, which led to me having students across the UK and even across the globe.
Wow.
And over that period, and a little bit before, I'd started working with adult music students as well as children. And I suddenly found that that's what lit me up. I loved helping adults who had a previous negative story about music in their past, the sort of thing where they've been told they couldn't sing in the school choir, or they weren't good enough to be in the band. And they had all these sort of negative emotions with that. But at the same time, they had a dream that was unfulfilled and, a desire. And I found that I was able to help lots of people in that way to turn their story around to something much more positive and joyous, and, have a new experience, a new love of music. And I helped them develop their confidence as well as their musical skill. And it got me realizing that this whole area of confidence and self-esteem and having limiting beliefs that we hold on to that hold us back, it's not just confined to the musical world. And I wanted to help more people. So I thought, well, now's the time to do something different, Emma, something extra. So I trained and certified as a life coach. And my course included NLP. So I'm an NLP practitioner and a timelines coach. And so that's how that started, really.
Oh my gosh, Emma, what a fabulous story. I love stories of people, who take advantage of, a challenging time, which was the time of the COVID lockdowns and all of that we were all, so many of us were concerned about. And so many people took the opportunity to pivot and so many didn't. So hearing your story of taking that, that really did take a lot of confidence and courage to pivot like that and go into and you've pivoted twice now, taking your music, tutoring online, and now adding the layer of life coaching. And for people who don't know, Emma, could you explain what MLP and NLP is?
Yes, definitely. So it stands for neural linguistic programming, and it's all about retraining our brain to be more positive and to think about things in a different way, sort of reframing our thoughts. It includes different visualization techniques, such as anchoring, where you can anchor a thought to a physical body movement, and it creates a stronger bond because you've got the mind and body connection. But really all the work is done in your brain. It's about
a lot of my clients are starting businesses. I'm a business coach, but I started my transition from being a corporate type person into business coaching with a life coach, because that, like, when you're doing those transitions, it's scary, and there's so many unknowns. And, at my age, when I was doing this many years ago, several years ago, not that long ago, actually, there was a lot of that old stuff that was stuck there that I didn't even know was there. And a life coach was so important to that transition. Well, thank you for sharing the transformation that you had, Emma. And this is the Fearless Climbers Business Show. I am your business coach and host, Kathleen Reese-Jubenville. And today I'm talking with Emma Nottage, the private music tutor and life coach of the musical Diamond. And so, Emma, thank you again for being here today.
Thank you again for this opportunity, Kathleen.
You're welcome. Yeah. And so now we're going to get into an exercise that I do with my clients, and is a great way to get to know you, Emma. And so for those of you who are starting a business and you want to create a great marketing message, I'm going to walk Emma through some questions to create her marketing message, and you can use the same formula for your own. So Emma, I'd love to start by asking you, who is your ideal client?
Yes, well, my ideal client, who I'm really drawn to working with, are midlife adults like myself, who have come to that point of wanting more. Like perhaps, they've had this dream that they've been sitting on, and they've never had the confidence to go for it. They're in their comfort zone, but there's more beyond that. So definitely midlife men and women. I'm open to working with both. And like myself, so, I'm mid-40s, so I can relate to those people. Yeah.
Fabulous. It helps so much when we have a story that connects with the people we're serving. That makes a big difference. And so when I heard you saying then the biggest problem you help them solve is making a transition in their life, can you explain that a little more?
Yes, definitely. So one of the things is, the best time to make a change in our life is at a point of something happening. So like for myself, it was the circumstance around my working conditions, but it might be people who perhaps have always been focused on their children and giving to their children, and sort of not doing what they've wanted to do, quite rightly, because they've been focused somewhere else. But perhaps now their child has grown up, is more independent, and it's their time. So it's people who have been feeling sort of held back. They've got regrets. They've got low self-esteem because where they are in either their life or business isn't fulfilling their potential. There's more that they can give. So they're feeling frustrated, and they want to be a role model for those around them. So, it's a really positive thing.
Yes, that's fantastic. And that actually is part of the marketing message, is how are those problems making them feel? And when you said low self-esteem, that reminds me of when I work with people, when you're trying to build a business, you're taking actions that are scary. And the less time you're taking action, the more insecure you feel, like the less clarity you have. And so, when you get to that, if there's been a lull in taking action, even for good reasons, it does make it harder to go out there and take another big leap of faith, because that confidence and that courage just isn't there yet. And so why isn't that fair to people, Emma? I think we might have already touched on that, but why isn't that fair to them that they're feeling that way or been stuck?
Well, it's not fair to them because maybe they don't know what is out there. So they're sort of denying themselves the possibility of that change, but also it's not fair to them because of the way it's making them feel. They're frustrated, they're feeling dissatisfied. You know, maybe there are things coming in with their mental health, like depression and anxiety. And, you know, there is a different way that they could go. So it's not, it's not fair because they're not reaching their potential. And it has a ripple effect for those around them as well. So it's not fair to those around them as well.
And so how do you work with them specifically, Emma, to help them solve their problems?
Okay, so at the moment, I've focused on one-to-one coaching. I think coaching is very personal. I've personally found sort of one of the challenges is that people don't necessarily say, I want your help, because it's a vulnerability. Yeah. It's, you know, it's hard to admit. So I've had to reach out maybe to people who I've got to know, or in sort of networks and different things, and suggest the idea of coaching. And I've found that that's been the best way. I will always start with where my client is. Mm-hmm. So I ask them, what area of your life do you want to focus on? Mm. Where do you want to make the change? And we work together, whether it is for a short time or a longer time, working through that issue. I use a selection of tools, mindset work. We've talked about NLP. Yes. I'm also a timelines coach, which isn't going into past lives. I don't do regression or anything like that, but it's about thinking of our timeline of our life and looking backwards sometimes, particularly if people have things like phobias or something that's held them back, and you can help them release the emotion around those things, but also looking forwards in our time. So if you've got a goal, like an end goal that you want to achieve, we do some visualization work where you see that moment of success and take it all in, and then work backwards and think about, well, if this is here, what do I need to do from the present moment to get there? And I use different goal setting techniques, and the GROW model, SMART goals, which I really love. But lots of things, in deep questioning as well. And I just wanted to share something I found amazing is sometimes clients have a penny drop moment where they suddenly have this realization that what they thought was the underlying issue wasn't. And the real thing is revealed. And they go, wow, you know, I've just realized this. And then, you know, they're so thankful because they know how to move forward. And again, like I said, the ripple effect. I once had a lady who I worked with who had that moment, and she said, oh, wow, this is going to have implications for my whole family, you know, in a positive way. And that's beautiful to have that happen. So, you know, that's how I work with people. Although I am now as well going to be doing some group coaching as well.
Fabulous. That's exciting. And I love to hear your heart and your passion for what you're doing, Emma. That coaching is such a rewarding job. It's amazing. And I love to hear you say that you're reaching out to people, because often when we're marketing as coaches, we tend to just put information, like we'll post on social media, which definitely is fantastic, but that's very passive. And so we have to find ways to actively engage with our audience as well. So I love to hear that you're doing that as well, and your passion for what you do. And so for a coach getting started, Emma, what would be your best piece of advice for them at this point? Like what would you say was a breakthrough for you, something you learned, you wish you knew before you got started, something along those lines?
Yeah, so I think, just the whole thing about you've got to know a lot, as in you can't just suddenly rock up and say, I'm just going to be a coach, I'm just going to launch. There's so much to it, when you're your own business, you are responsible for all the bits of it, especially in these beginning stages. I pretty much do everything myself, but I know that in time I may want to take on a VA and build on that and that type of thing. But something that I have done is I am in different memberships, and I do work with coaches for me, because, for example, the business side, I didn't know anything about. Yeah. And, one tip that I take on board is know your numbers. You've got to know, like, monetary wise, your budget, your expenses, all of that side of things. And also, I think the biggest thing for me as well was tracking my leads and knowing where things get to, so that at the end of the year, you've got a clear picture of what's working and what isn't. So, that's something that when I first started, it was definitely quite overwhelming, but also I was probably a bit sort of burying my head in the sand, and you can't do that. You've got to know your numbers, and the one piece of advice that I would say is ask for help. You don't know what you don't know, and there are people there who are one step ahead of you who can help you.
Fabulous, Emma. I couldn't have said it better myself. And you're a woman after my own heart. Well, Emma, if people would like to get in contact with you about your life coaching, what would you like them to do?
Okay, so something that I did at the beginning of my online journey was I got myself social media presence, but also I created a website, which I hadn't had before. And now that has my music teaching and my life coaching on it. It has like all my testimonials and details about how I work and things that are coming up, including my group program. So the best place is to check out my website, which is musicaldiamond.com. And you can connect on there to all my social pages as well. And I'm happy for people to email me at emma@musicaldiamond.com.
So be sure to check out Emma's website and email her for more information. And I want to thank you, Emma, so much for being here today. It's been a pleasure talking with you.
Well, thank you again, Kathleen. It's great to talk to you.
Thank you. And for all our viewers, please be sure to follow or subscribe so you don't miss any of our small business success strategies, and click on the links below for more helpful free resources.